Lively's lawyer quit after Justin Baldoni fights back with $400 million lawsuit?
After she alleged that Baldoni and Heath engaged in misconduct. The article and video echoed and compounded the baseless accusations made by Lively and her co-defendants about Wayfair and falsely accused them of having waged a smear campaign against Lively. The press enjoys the fair report privilege when faithfully relying the contents of a filed complaint, but that is not what the New York Times did.
Before we dive into one of the most bizarre and chilling mysteries to ever hit Hollywood, make sure to subscribe if you love deep dives into unsolved cases, hidden truths, and shocking celebrity mysteries. Trust me, this one is going to leave you speechless. There's absolutely nothing more delicious than watching a messy celebrity lawsuit crumble in real time, especially when the people involved thought they could manipulate the media and get away with it. And right now, Blake Lively is in full damage control mode after her own lawyer quit on her, because apparently even her legal team couldn't keep up with the circus she created. I mean, can we just take a second to appreciate how fast this whole thing is falling apart? One minute she's making these dramatic accusations against Justin Baldoni, painting herself as some kind of victim, and the next, her own legal team is jumping ship faster than Ryan Gosling at a Barbie press event. And that's saying something. Seriously, though, Meryl Conant straight up walked away from this mess, which tells you everything you need to know. Lawyers don't just quit high-profile cases for fun. They quit when the case is weak, the client is difficult, or the whole thing is about to go up in flames. And based on how badly this is unraveling, it's looking like a combination of all three. Let's talk about why this is happening. Blake Lively's entire lawsuit against Justin Baldoni is based on accusations of sexual harassment and body shaming. But here's the problem. She hasn't provided any actual evidence, not a single email, message, nothing to back up her claims. Which is wild considering how quickly she ran to the media to make sure everyone knew about it. Like, girl, if you're going to accuse someone of something this serious, maybe come prepared, because right now it looks like a PR stunt gone wrong. And Justin Baldoni's legal team? They're not playing around. His lawyer, Brian Friedman, just filed a brutal opposition, shutting down both Lively's lawsuit and an article from the New York Times that basically tried to act like her claims were facts. Which is hilarious because even the courts are now side-eyeing that article like, really? You ran this without proof? Honestly, at this point, the only thing missing from this disaster is Ryan Reynolds jumping in to make some quirky Twitter joke about how Blake's taking an L. Speaking of bad journalism, let's talk about how the New York Times managed to make itself look even worse. So, apparently, instead of waiting for actual evidence, they published this glowing article that completely sided with Lively, presenting her claims as if they were set in stone facts. No questions, no doubts, just full-on PR fluff. And now, Justin Baldoni's lawyer is making them regret it. Friedman is calling out the journalistic incompetence, saying the Times didn't even verify Lively's story before running it. Which means they could be looking at a defamation case of their own. Because guess what? You can't just publish false accusations like they're undeniable truth and expect to walk away unscathed. Not in this legal climate. So now, the Times is stuck in a lose-lose situation. If they stand by their reporting, they risk getting dragged into court right alongside Lively. If they backtrack, they admit they published garbage. Either way, it's embarrassing. And here's where it gets even juicier. Baldoni's team is pushing for the case to be moved to California because apparently the defamation laws there are way harsher than in New York. Basically, if Lively is lying, which it's looking more and more like she is, she's in big trouble. California courts take reputational damage super seriously, especially when it comes to celebrities getting publicly accused without proof. And let's be real. If this trial actually makes it to court, Lively's going to get eaten alive. A jury isn't going to just take her word for it. They're going to want evidence. And since her own lawyer couldn't even stick around to defend her, that tells us everything we need to know. Now, here's where things get dangerous for Lively. Baldoni's legal team is bringing up actual malice, which basically means they're arguing that the New York Times and Lively knowingly pushed false information with the intent to damage Baldoni's reputation. And if they can prove that, the lawsuit turns from messy to catastrophic for Lively and the Times. Because if a judge determines that Lively knowingly lied or acted recklessly with the truth, then she could be facing a countersuit, one that could hit her where it really hurts, her wallet. Honestly, she might want to start calling up Netflix and seeing if they'll let her do another rom-com because this lawsuit might cost her more than she expected. This whole mess just keeps getting worse and worse for Blake Lively, and honestly, she deserves every second of it. Because let's be real, she thought she could spin some dramatic sob story, weaponize the media, and take Justin Baldoni down without a shred of evidence. But now, her own legal team is ditching her. The New York Times is about to get dragged into court, and Baldoni's lawyers are eating her alive. Like, at what point does she just give up? Because every new development makes her look more desperate, and I love it. Let's talk about how this is going to ruin her career. Because Hollywood doesn't forget when someone pulls a stunt like this and gets caught. Look at Amber Heard. She thought she could destroy Johnny Depp with her ridiculous accusations. And even when some people believed her at first, the second the truth came out, her career was over. And now Blake is heading down the exact same path. She thought she was untouchable, that she could just cry to the media, throw out a few serious allegations, and everyone would blindly believe her. But the moment people started asking for actual proof, radio silence, because she has nothing. And guess what? Hollywood is noticing. The industry hates scandals like this because the second someone gets exposed for lying, it makes it harder for real victims to be believed. So, do you really think casting directors, producers, and studios are going to risk working with her now? She's poison. Speaking of ruined reputations, can we take a moment to talk about Ryan Reynolds? Because the man is nowhere to be found. Usually, he never shuts up on Twitter. He's always cracking jokes, posting funny comments about his wife, acting like he's the most likable guy on the planet. But now, not a peep. No proud husband post. No snarky comment about how Blake is standing up for herself. Nothing. And I think we all know why. Because he knows she's losing. Ryan Reynolds is too smart to attach himself to a sinking ship. The second he realized Blake's case was falling apart, he backed off. And honestly, I don't blame him. He's got way too much money and way too many brand deals to be dragged into this disaster. But you know what's funny? When Blake was first making all these accusations, Ryan was right there supporting her. And now? Silence. Because when it was convenient, he was on board. But now that it's all falling apart, he's pretending it's not his problem. You know who else wants out of this mess ASAP? The New York Times. They thought they were being so clever when they ran that piece siding with Blake, acting like her claims were 100% factual, without even bothering to verify anything. And now, they're in deep, deep trouble. Because if Baldoni's team proves actual malice, the Times could be looking at a defamation lawsuit that would cost them millions. And let's not forget, the Times is already struggling. They've been hit with multiple credibility issues in recent years, and their reputation isn't what it used to be. So, if this case exposes them as reckless, biased, and willing to destroy someone's reputation without proof, they're done. And let's be honest, they completely deserve it. You know things are bad when even Blake's PR team can't keep up. At first, they tried everything, leaking dramatic quotes to the press, trying to make Justin Baldoni look like a villain, painting Blake as some poor victim fighting against the odds. But now, it's dead silent, because they know no one's buying it anymore. The second her own lawyer bailed, the narrative collapsed. And let's be real, even the most gullible people can see through this now. The media tried so hard to push this story, but without evidence, there's only so much they can do. And you can tell Blake is panicking. She's not making public statements, she's not doubling down, because she knows if she keeps talking, she's just going to make it worse. And let's talk about the bigger issue here. Because Blake's case is exposing the hypocrisy of Hollywood's whole believe all women movement. At first, they were all backing her. All these woke celebrities were coming out, posting their solidarity messages, pretending they cared. But now, crickets. Because when it was trendy to support Blake, they were all in. But the second it became obvious she was lying, they all disappeared. And that tells you everything you need to know. It was never about truth or justice. It was about optics. If Baldoni wins this case, and let's be real, at this point he's going to, it's going to set a huge precedent. Because Hollywood loves the idea that accusations alone can ruin someone. But if Baldoni proves in court that Blake made false claims, it's going to make it a lot harder for future celebrities to pull the same stunt. People are going to demand actual evidence before ruining someone's career. And honestly, that's the way it should be. Because too many people have been destroyed by baseless accusations. And if Baldoni takes this all the way and wins, it might actually force the industry to stop weaponizing the media against people without proof. It just keeps getting worse and worse for Blake Lively, and at this point, I don't even think she can spin her way out of it. Her own lawyer quit. The media that initially rushed to support her is now backpedaling hard. And Justin Baldoni? He's sitting back, watching her case crumble like a stale cookie. And honestly, she deserves every bit of this downfall. Because let's be real, this wasn't some brave legal battle. This was a calculated PR move that backfired spectacularly. Blake really thought she could pull a classic Hollywood sob story and have everyone fall at her feet. But the second people started asking for actual evidence, poof, the whole thing fell apart. And now, even her biggest defenders are abandoning ship. Can we take a moment to talk about how absolutely embarrassing the media coverage has been on this? Because when this story first broke, every major outlet was rushing to defend Blake Lively. They ran sensational headlines. They framed Justin Baldoni as some kind of monster, and they completely ignored the fact that there was zero proof. And now that her case is imploding? Crickets. The same people who were pushing her narrative nonstop are suddenly not interested in talking about it anymore. No retractions, no apologies, just silence. And this is why people don't trust mainstream media anymore. Because they pick a side first, and only later do they realize, oh wait, we should have actually checked if this was true. But by then, the damage is already done. Blake Lively is now scrambling behind the scenes to salvage whatever's left of her reputation. But it's not working. Her PR team is in full panic mode, trying to figure out how to spin this disaster into something salvageable. And you can already see the desperate moves starting. They're trying to shift the focus to misogyny. Like, apparently it's sexist to expect actual proof before ruining someone's career. They're trying to drag out the legal process, hoping that maybe, just maybe, something will stick if they keep throwing accusations around. They're putting out vague, cryptic statements, trying to act like the case isn't collapsing right in front of our eyes. But here's the problem. No one is buying it anymore. The public has seen too many fake scandals like this before. People are smarter than Hollywood thinks, and they can tell when someone is playing the victim for attention. One of the biggest takeaways from this mess? The believe all women era in Hollywood is over. For years, certain celebrities weaponized movements like #MeToo to take down people they didn't like, even when there was no proof. And for a while, it worked, because people wanted to do the right thing. They wanted to support women who were genuinely mistreated. But then we started seeing more and more cases like this. Cases where people made wild accusations without a shred of evidence, just expecting the world to take their side because they said so. And at some point, the public had enough. And this case? This might be the final nail in the coffin. Because if Blake Lively can get caught pulling a stunt like this, what does that say about all the other Hollywood celebrities who've done the same thing? The tide is turning, and Hollywood's fake activism is crumbling. We have to talk about Ryan Reynolds again because the way he's handling this is very telling. He's nowhere to be found. The man who never shuts up online is suspiciously quiet while his wife's reputation goes up in flames. And you know why? Because he's thinking about his career. Ryan Reynolds has too many brand deals, too many partnerships, and too much money on the line to get dragged into this mess. So instead of publicly supporting Blake, he's doing what Hollywood men always do when their wives screw up. He's pretending he doesn't see it. And I promise you, if this gets worse, he's going to distance himself even more. Because at the end of the day, Ryan Reynolds is a businessman first. And the second Blake starts hurting his bank account, he'll be out. Oh, and let's not forget, the New York Times is about to pay the price for blindly backing Blake Lively. Because Justin Baldoni's lawyers aren't just going after Blake, they're also coming for the Times. And for good reason. They published a completely one-sided article framing Baldoni as guilty without a trial, without evidence, and without doing their due diligence. And now, they might actually get sued for defamation, which means they're about to lose millions of dollars, all because they chose clicks over facts. And honestly, they deserve it, because journalism is supposed to be about truth, not blindly supporting celebrities just because it's trendy. So what's Blake going to do now? Well, she has two options. One, she could try to settle quietly, but that would mean admitting her case is weak, which would be humiliating. Two, she could double down and try to keep pushing the case, but without evidence, she's just going to lose harder. Either way, she's screwed. Because no matter what happens in court, she's already lost in the court of public opinion. She thought she could destroy Baldoni, but she only ended up ruining herself. And frankly, it's what she deserves. Well, for one, Lively better hope a new lawyer is willing to touch this train wreck of a case, because right now, no one's looking at her lawsuit and thinking it's solid. Second, the Times better start sweating, because if they really did publish Lively's claims without proper verification, this could be a major lawsuit for them too. And third, Hollywood is taking notes, because if this lawsuit completely collapses, it's going to make a lot of people rethink how celebrity accusations get treated in the media. At the end of the day, Blake Lively tried to play the media game, and she lost. And honestly, it's kind of satisfying to watch. At this point, Blake's only option is to quietly disappear from Hollywood for a while and hope people forget this happened, because her credibility is gone. No one's going to believe a word she says after this. Studios aren't going to take a risk on her anymore. And honestly, she has no one to blame but herself. She thought she could manipulate public opinion. She thought the media would carry her all the way through. She thought she could destroy Justin Baldoni without consequences. But instead, she destroyed herself. And I love every second of it.